Naiintindihan ko kung bakit takot kayong kumain ng taba ng baboy, taba ng baka. Bilang doktor, for the longest time, takot din po ako noon. I always knew na masama yan sa katawan, yun yung kinalakihan natin. And para sa isang taong mahilig kumain ng karne at taba ng baboy, taba ng baka, bacon, butter, coconut oil, mga pagkaing may gata, ako ay takot din noon. Pero, hindi ibig sabihin, hindi na ako kumakain. Kumakain pa rin ako. It's just that, during that time, parang tinanggap ko na that it will be my faith na yun talaga yung papupuntahan. Lahat tayo mamamatay because of heart attacks, because of stroke, dahil ito yung makakabara ng ating mga ugat. Yet, I cannot put myself into a situation na hindi ako kumain ng karne, especially meat. Any meat, red meat, white meat, karne ng baka, karne ng baboy, o di kaya kalabaw, or white meat like chicken or fish. And before, kapag kumakain ng isda at kapag kumakain ng chicken, parang feeling ko ang super healthy ko na. Yet, in a week's time, maybe once or twice lang. Kasi most of the times, yung kinakain talaga namin is karne. And I realize now na yun talaga, yung lifestyle na yun ay nakakatakot. But what I realize is, hindi pala siya nakakatakot dahil lang sa karne, dahil lang sa pagkain ng taba, but it is because of the food na kinakain ko kasabay nito. At ano yun? For us Filipinos, it's eating those meat, those red meat, based on rice, na meron pa ring rice na kasama. I hope our connection can sustain us. Thank you also for our viewers na nag-send ng stars. Thank you very much sa pag-send po. That support means a lot. So, naiintindihan ko po. Kasi noon, bilang doctor, yun din yung kinalakihan kong idea na nakakatakot yung pagkain ng karne, nakakatakot yung pagkain ng taba. It's because based on research nga, nakita nila na yung mga taong namamatay because of heart attacks, because of strokes, yung mga ugat nila punong-puno na ng cholesterol. These are called cholesterol plaques. At yung cholesterol plaques na yun, yun yung makakadulot ng pagbara sa mga maliliit na ugat sa ating katawan. Based, for example, in our brain, it can lead into stroke, or kung sa puso natin, heart attack. Kung sa ating kidneys, pwede magkaroon ng ischemia or walang blood flow na dadaan kapag yung cholesterol plaque na yon ay mapunta or mag-obstruct sa part ng katawan natin na yon. And that is dangerous. At it was a knowledge na ang daling tanggapin. Kasi cholesterol, maybe, most likely, galing siya sa cholesterol na kinakain natin. But have you noticed na sa dami ng taong kilala nating umiiwas ng taba ng cholesterol, taba ng baboy, hindi na nga halos kumakain ng itlog, yet they still die of heart attacks, they still die of stroke. Tinanggap na lang natin na kailangan nating itong iwasan. But have you noticed that even yung mga taong halos hindi kumakain ito, the moment they have their laboratories check, matataas pa rin yung kanilang total cholesterol. Worst, yung kanilang VLDL, or very low density lipoprotein. Yun talaga yung nakakatakot. Plus, pair that up with triglycerides na mataas din. And it's also of no surprise na kapag ito ay nakikita, meron ding signs of fatty liver or problems with liver, like pagtaas ng SGPT, pagtaas ng SGOT, yung iba naman nagkakaroon ng pagtaas ng uric acid, o kaya pagkaroon ng pagtaas ng creatinine. At lahat ng ito, always blaming the fats, always blaming the red meat, when in fact, what we don't know is hindi talaga sila yung culprit. The real culprit is actually the insulin spike and the inflammation, yung pamamaga na nasa loob mismo. At yung pamamaga na yon ay nagsisimula sa sobrang taas ng pag-intake ng carbohydrates, which is the simple sugars, fructose and glucose. Yung mga taong umiiwas sa karne, sa mga sabi nilang matataba, if you will get to ask them, or kayo mismo, for those of you who are watching, na mataas yung cholesterol, yung inyong triglycerides, yung inyong other lipid panels, and your HbA1c at FBS ang tataas. Diabetic na, first time in 40 years old, 38, 35 years old, diagnosed na with high blood and diabetes. Kung kayo ay umiiwas sa karne at baboy tapos mataas ito, most likely kapag na-diagnose kayo, sasabihan kayo umiwas pa din. And yung mindset natin as patient, isipin natin, so sobra pa rin pala, kahit isang beses lang ako kumain ng red meat in a week, sobra pa rin pala kasi tumaas pa din. When in fact, no. Hindi yan sobra. Yung kailangan nating tingnan is actually not the red meat, is actually not the fats. Yes, partly they can contribute, but before you blame them, try to assess muna kung gaano kataas yung intake mo ng carbohydrates. Para sa mga Pinoy, number 1 yan, kanin. Okay? So, kahit pa brown rice, paulit-ulit tayo, kahit pa brown rice, kahit pa red rice, kahit pa black rice, rice pa din yan. And rice is a starch. Akala natin healthy ang rice. Akala natin healthy na tayo kasi umiiwas tayo sa matatamis. But if you are eating a lot of rice, 1 cup of rice is equivalent to 10 teaspoons of white sugar. So, kung sa pleasure lang, like for me, I have a sweet tooth, mas mabuti pang kumain na lang ako ng dessert kaysa rice. But of course, that's not what I'm saying. Hindi yan yung ibig kong sabihin. But it just goes to show that we eat rice unmindfully. Kumakain tayo ng kanin na hindi natin alam kung ano yung epekto nito. Umiiwas tayo sa matatamis pero hindi tayo umiiwas sa kanin, not knowing na kapag kumain tayo nito ng sobra-sobra, which is more than 1 cup a day, yung sobra-sobra na yon, especially on top of other things, and that other things will include your patatas, kamote, kahit pa to some extent, carrots, oatmeal, pandesal, tinapay, lahat ng klase na tinapay, white bread, wheat bread, whole grain bread, it's still bread. The only bread that you can take na hindi mag-spike yung iyong blood sugar is the ones that you can find in our groups, Life Without Rice. So, I hope you can join that group. It's a free group. It's a very generous group. And the admins there and the moderators, maraming salamat for always helping out. Kayo po ang pinaka nagpapatakbo ngayon ng platforms natin, ng groups natin. And our members cannot thank you enough. Sometimes they failed to realize that we are all doing it for voluntary reasons. Walang sweldo yung admins and moderators po ng Life Without Rice and Low Carb Feasting and Fasting Community. We just want to help you. All the recipes are there if you wish to have a low carb bread kung gusto nyo. But of course, do it with caution. At kapag meron na kayong mga sakit, meron na kayong mga diagnosed na illness and is already taking medications, then best to do it the guided way. So thank you. This is the first time that I do live na na-turn on ko yung stars. Ngayon ko lang nalaman na meron pala mga stars. So the audience sent 700 stars. So, for those of you who sent stars, your comments and questions will be pinned on top. So, rest assured that we will get back to you as soon as possible. After this live, I will answer you myself. And thank you po. So, going back to our red meat, it's understandable. Naiintindihan ko po na natatakot kayo kasi ako mismo as doctor before, natatakot din ako. So, how much more na ikaw na walang medical background, because you were also advised by your own doctor to be afraid of eating those. And to be fair, tama lang na matakot talaga. Kailangan talagang matakot sa pagkain ng taba ng baboy, taba ng karne, taba ng baka, and red meat kapag meron itong catch. Dapat kayong matakot kumain ito if you are also drinking soft drinks, always having dessert after eating, kumakain ng rice kasabay nito, then definitely dapat matakot kayo. But for us, doing low carb nutrition, wherein kung kumain man kami ng karne, kumain man kami ng taba ng baboy, kumain man kami ng liempo, kumain man kami ng lechon, kahit araw-araw, of course, hindi naman na araw-araw, OA lang yan. So, halos kahit araw-araw, we are not afraid because we make sure that when we eat it, kapag kinakain namin ito, wala itong kasamang carbohydrates, wala itong kasamang as much as possible mga other processed foods. And most importantly, ito ay kinakain namin only during the right time. And when we say the right time, ito yung panahon na wherein our body needs nutrition. in low carb and fasting lifestyle, we are no longer dictated by time. Not because it's 7 o'clock in the evening, kailangan ko nang kumain, mag-dinner. Not because it's 12 noon, kailangan magla-lunch na ako. Just because matatapos yung breakfast meal at 10:30, ay kailangan kong kumain before 10:30. Of course not. We are now better than that. Alam natin na when we eat, it should be because we are nutritionally in need of food. And kapag matagal ka na sa lifestyle na ito, and actually for marami tayong beginners ngayon, and thank you also for everyone who are supportive of our page, who keeps on sharing the page and our advocacy, and including this video. Maraming salamat po. You are helping to educate more people. You'll never know kung sino sa friends and family ninyo ang makakakita, and they'll be the one to tell you na it's because of what you shared and what you keep on sharing, kahit pa akala mo hindi pinapansin. That sharing, that post that you shared will be that one thing that can possibly help them heal in a sustainable way. Because when a person is diagnosed with diabetes and hypertension, noon ako, kapag merong akong pasyente na may diabetes or hypertension, automatic, bibigyan ko lang ng reseta ng gamot. And I admit, sabi ko nga in our Dubai yacht cruise event, nung meet and greet namin, hello to everyone, to Uy family, to Felina, to Lisa, to Alona. Hello po, maraming salamat to each and everyone na pumunta. Si Tintin hindi lang nakapunta, but I hope to see you when you come back to BAKlT. At of course, Conversion Engine team. So maraming salamat for your support of going there. So thank you so much. And of course to the couple who binigyan ng gift ng kanilang mommy to be in the event with us. So maraming salamat. I hope to see you all again soon. So as what I mentioned there, sabi ko nga, yung ating advocacy, it's not just about giving medications. Noon, I admit, until now, I still feel guilty na sa mga panahon way back 3 years ago, bago ko na learn yung importance ng nutrition, ng low carb nutrition and fasting, I really feel guilty whenever I remember yung mga patients ko na binibigyan ko ng gamot noon at sila mismo nagtatanong. I feel like they are the patients na merong intuition, merong wisdom. Kasi tinatanong nila ako, how about food, doc? What can I do? What can I adjust with my food para meron akong ma-improve, para hindi ako mag-depend sa gamot? And do you know what I tell them before? Okay na yan, ma'am. Kahit ano lang, kain ka lang kayo ng kung anong kinakain nyo ngayon. Anyway, may gamot na naman. So, I really feel bad about those times because I didn't know any better. Because noon nga, yun lang yung alam namin. Our medical background, the way we study is, yes, we studied about nutrition, but very superficial nutrition, just the basic knowledge on biochemical processes. Pero yung implication nito, how it can actually apply to our body to heal, hindi yan na-address. The bulk of our studies is focused on pharmacological management. Ibig sabihin, how to manage diseases gamit yung gamot lang. And I'm so happy that this time, I am so grateful na it might be, I hope it's not too late sa mga napasyente ko noon. Please, kung nandito kayo, magparamdam kayo na nandito kayo. And I hope you were able to see our advocacy and how we promote proper nutrition. Yes, pasensya na po kung sinabi ko noon na wala na kailangan i-adjust sa pagkain. Now, binabawi ko po yan. Kailangan po talagang mag-adjust sa ating pagkain. And it may not be the usual adjustment na nakasanayan natin. Yung usual na adjustment na kunin mo yung matataba, hindi ka na kumain ng karne. Kasi if you really think about it, especially me, I was working in a government hospital. So most of our patients are charity patients. Hindi nagkakalayo yung uri ng sakit sa private hospital and sa public hospital. Diabetes, hypertension, stroke, kidney problems, ngangailangan dialysis, pareho pa din. And you know why? It's not just because of meat intake. Kasi kung sa meat intake lang, in public hospitals, our charity patients, especially those who live in the mountains, yung far-flung areas talaga, it's very hard for them to eat meat every day. It's very hard for them to eat meat. Usually, nire-reserve lang nila yan during occasions, kapag meron lang special occasions. And yet, why? Why is it na ganun pa rin yung kanilang problema? Nagkakaroon pa rin sila ng diabetes, high blood, nagkakaroon pa rin ng cancer. I am a head and neck surgeon by specialty. So, yung mga pasyente ko talaga may mga bukol. Halos lahat sila, mga pasyente, exact sa mga merong problema sa pandinig, but majority of our patients are for surgery. Kailangan talagang operahan, kung hindi man dahil sa bukol, sa tumor, sa cancer, meron ding tumutubong mga polyps na kailangan talagang kunin. And majority of them, if I can recall, no, hindi talaga sila malakas kumain ng karne, ng baboy. And they are even so proud. Sabi nila, Dok, hindi ako kumakain ng karne. Hindi ako, ilang taon na ako hindi kumakain ng baboy. And I just wonder, why are you here in the first place? Yung kinakain ko, Dok, gulay lang. Gulay ako parate. Gulay lang ng gulay. And then, when I ask, anong kasabay ng gulay mo? Hindi ka ba kumakain ng kanin? Ay, oo, Dok. Given na yan. Given na yan na merong kanin. So, that's our mindset. It's like, kung kakain tayo, pag tinanong ka before, ano yung kinain mo? Yung sasabihin mo yung ulam lang. So, between private hospitals, private practice, and public and charity patients that I've dealt with, ano yung common denominator sa kanila? It's the abundance of carbohydrates. It's too much rice. It's too much carbohydrates that they are eating. And for some, hindi man kanin talaga directly, but carbohydrates in general. Yung tawag natin dyan, total net carbohydrate intake. Yung carbohydrate na nagiging converted into glucose na nakakapagpataas ng ating bloodstream, and the ones that spiking insulin, and the one that is increasing inflammation. There is a special kind of carbohydrates na hindi man siya diretsang nakakapagpataas ng blood sugar, but it's causing inflammation in the body, and that is fructose. Okay, so para sa mga millennials dyan, yung mga bata pa, teenagers, or yung mga parents dyan na merong mga anak na parating nagre-request ng mga drinks, ng mga milk tea, fraps, at kung ano-ano pa, those foods are loaded with fructose. Para naman sa mga matatanda, or di kaya mga tito, tita, at saka para sa atin na mga kaedad ko na nagtatry na magpaka-healthy, you know what's our usual source of fructose na medyo nasusobra? It's actually the fruits. Fructose is a sugar coming from fruits. Kapag sobra-sobra yung pagkain nito, that can still lead to inflammation. The problem with fructose, it is directly processed by our liver, at kapag hindi ka kumakain ka ng iba't ibang pagkain, and you are not fasting, you are not exercising, you are just eating fruits on top of other foods, especially carbo-loaded foods, those fructose, it can easily be converted into fats, yung bad fats. It can lead into non-alcoholic fatty liver, and that non-alcoholic fatty liver can be the source of your insulin resistance. At kapag meron ka ng insulin resistance, yung katawan mo ay hindi na nagre-respond masyado sa glucose. So that is the one of the. And diabetes may manifest as elevated blood sugar for many, kasi yun yung criteria whenever we diagnose diabetes. But there are also others na hindi man nagre-reflect as frank diabetes, but it can still present as insulin intolerance or glucose intolerance. Yung iba, nagkakaroon ng tumor, nagkakaroon ng pagtaas ng lipids, metabolic syndrome, lumalaki yung tiyan, hindi tumataba yung kamay at paa, pero yung tiyan sobrang laki. For those of you who have that, make sure that your goal is not just about weight, but make sure that yung waist circumference ninyo, yung circumference ng inyong bewang sa level ng inyong pusod, umbilical level, or navel level, okay, should be less than half of your height. If your height, for example, is 60 inches, so dapat 30 inches or below lang yung inyong bewang. Kung mas malaki dyan, then you really need to lower it down to lower your risk of heart attacks and stroke and many more. So yes, naiintindihan ko po kung bakit natatakot kayong kumain ng taba at kung bakit kayo natatakot kumain ng karne, kasi nga sa studies merong nagsasabi na yung pagkain nito is the one leading to kidney problems, the one leading to heart attacks and cancer formation. But mind you, you have to acknowledge that those studies are not looking at carbohydrates. Hindi nila in-isolate. Walang isolation between one group na puro karne lang, one group na puro carbohydrate lang. No, they are not that studies. Those studies are very generic, and during that time, low carb nutrition was still not a thing. Hindi pa talaga siya na-emphasize as this kind of entity the way we recognize it now. And they are just blaming diretsa yung karne mismo as the cause, where in fact our body can tolerate, our body can process a lot of proteins, can even process salt. Kahit yung takot natin sa salt may actually be unfounded, because retention of salt and retention of water in our system is also driven by insulin. So the moment na pinapababa actually natin yung insulin sa ating katawan, we just flush off excess water and salt. And this is also a segue lang sa mga naglo-low carb. You might need a little more salt than usual, or else you will risk yourself of having sodium imbalance, lowered sodium intake, or lowered sodium level, or hyponatremia. At kapag hindi yan naagapan, it can easily crash down into hypokalemia or pagbaba ng potassium sa katawan, because our body is trying to maintain an equal level of sodium and potassium sa ating blood volume. At kapag hindi yan na-assess, it can have a lot of side effects. So, usual side effects ng mga taong naglo-low carb na hindi guided, yung kayo-kayo lang. And I respect and I admire your strength and courage, but I also will pray for you. Kasi ayoko po sanang gawin nyo yan na kayo-kayo lang, unless you really did extensive research. You really did a lot of studying first before diving into it. Hindi lang basta na-inspire ka lang kasi meron kang nakitang transformational photo at ginaya mo na. Iba-iba po yung pangangatawan ng kada tao. Iba-iba po yung needs natin. So yes, there are basic knowledge. Like say for example, you can follow the food list, the JGC Rojo food list. You can check that. Follow nyo yung safe list. But for those with conditions, okay lang kung bata ka pa, walang medical conditions na existing, gusto lang mag-weight loss, gusto lang mag-prevent ng illness. So that can happen. But for those with existing conditions na meron ng iniinom na gamot, meron ng mga dinaramdam, best to do it the guided way. We already have a lot of low carb doctors in our community. Marami na po. We have Doc Brian Castillo, Doc Lisel Ganancial, we have Doc Kim Saskia Espirito, nandyan si Dr. Rashera Elefante, Doc Fee and Doc Mike of course. We also have Doc Iggy, although very busy na din, Dr. Suzette and marami na po tayong doctors na available ngayon. And in our ongoing masterclass, we have more doctors coming up. And I'm so happy and grateful that you are here and you open up yourselves to knowledge, to relearning. Especially yung isang doctor na kasama natin sa LCF masterclass, na isa ata siyang municipal health officer in one of the provinces in one of the municipalities in Mindanao, and also another one in Luzon. And sobrang nakakataba po ng puso because he found LCF through YouTube ata, and then he really feel like he needs it kasi siya mismo sa tagal ng practice niya as a municipal doctor, he can see that what he was doing, basing kahit gaano pa ka-strict yung pag-follow ng mga guidelines, ng mga CPG, clinical practice guidelines, we actually don't see patients really healing. It's just a matter of time na eventually yung guidelines from one medications, after a month or 2 or a year pa, pwede na mag-add naman ng medications, and the condition is just being somewhat kinokontrol lang ng konti yung symptoms, pero yung alam mo hindi talaga gumagaling, because after a while you'll need to add more medicine, or the patient will have some side effects, or might have worsened condition, worsened symptoms. So alam mo something is not right. And it is not because of just the lack of medicine, and we are not saying na hindi na talaga mangangailangan ng gamot. Every condition, kapag meron na talang diagnose, pwedeng mangailangan ng help ng gamot. Pero medicines alone can really not heal anybody. Kailangan talaga we allow ourselves its own capacity to heal its own. Kasi yung katawan natin, meron yung genes. It's composed of many genes, and even the genes for healing is there. But we need to activate it, we need to tap it, and there's no way that it will be activated na gagaling tayo on our own if we keep our body busy with processing of foods that are not good for us. Kailangan talaga magkaroon tayo ng break from junk foods, and in general, kailangan din tayo magkaroon ng break from food alone. So, it's not just about low carb. That's why we never just advise low carb alone. It should be low carb and fasting. At hindi naman namin sinasabi na fasting 3 days, 2 days, kahit nga 24 hours. We don't recommend that to anyone, especially kapag nagsisimula pa lang. Just a 12-hour fasting could be your best bet as a start. So, circadian fasting, just eat dinner before sundown. So, anong oras na ba ngayon? It's already 9 o'clock almost. So, dapat tapos na kayong kumain ha. Kung pwede nga lang, tapos kayong kumain ng 6 o'clock pa lang kasi sundown na yon, sunset na yon. And sa umaga naman, if you are a breakfast eater or maaga kang gumising sa umaga, you can already have breakfast by 6 o'clock. Kahit heavy breakfast pa yan. But since it's about low carb and fasting, try to eat breakfast that are only in our green list ng hashtag JGC Rojo food list natin. So, try to do that and you will see yourself getting a lot more energetic, mas magaan sa pakiramdam. At yung isang pinaka-obvious na testimonials na usually very common, pagkawala yung mga sakit sa katawan. So, the aches and pains, yung pagsakit ng likod, pagsakit ng paa, ng tuhod, pag hindi makabangon sa umaga, all of those just instantly disappear because inflammation lowers immediately. Although inflammation is one of the worst things that we need to address, at ito yung isa sa nakakatakot, but it also is one of those things that easily responds, depending of course on what you do as well, on how safe you really stick to the safe list, at kung ano yung inyong allowed fasting schedule, and most importantly also your level of stress. So your level of stress also plays a role in healing. You have to believe first na kaya nyong gumaling, or else kapag hindi nyo pinaniniwalaan yan, kahit gaano pa yung pagsunod nyo sa protocol, but your brain is you allow your brain to tell you na hindi ka gagaling, you're hopeless, then you are already cutting 50% of your opportunity to heal. So first, you have to believe, you have to have faith, maniwala ka na gagaling ka. You can have that. So if you pray and imagine that the prayers are really helping you, you have to believe, you have to have faith that you are going to heal, that you are capable of healing. So, have faith. Maniwala lang po, manalig lang po na kaya nyong gumaling. And then, after that, you do what it takes. You can try to follow, if you've been following the standard na advice na before, na avoid fats, avoid red meat, and yet you are not healing. So, maybe this time you can also try what we promote, which is the low carb nutrition. You can eat those meat, you can eat those fats, provided that you eat it together with vegetables, with other foods that are non-starchy, non-insulin spiking, non-glucose spiking, and non-inflammatory. So stick to the safe list, hindi lang basta-basta taba. Try to avoid the fats that are bad for us. Try to avoid the vegetable oils na parating ginagamit for cooking. If you have to cook, try to only use coconut oil as cooking. Yun yung parang pinaka-safe sa Pilipinas. But for those who are not living in the Philippines, I know it might be hard. Yung common ata sa labas would be palm oil. If palm oil, try to take the palm oil coming from the pulp or the fruit, not from the seed of the palm, para mas maganda po, because the seed of the palm can still be somewhat more inflammatory as compared to the pulp of the palm. Okay? But in general, if you can have access to coconut oil, better to stick with coconut oil, because from what we've learned, palm oil processing may not be that, as an industry, is not doing very good to our environment. So yan, na yung topic natin, grabe no, from health, tapos environment na naman. I understand na marami sa inyo na who are following our page because of our health and wellness advocacy, at yung iba meron pa nagsasabi na, Doc, mag-stick ka na lang sa health and wellness, huwag mo nang pakialaman yung iba. I'm so sorry po, but pinapakialaman ko talaga yung iba because what I promote in my page are the ones that I really believe in my life. So that's why minsan from time to time nakakakita kayo ng post about aso, about environment, about family, because that's what we live. Kung nakakadisturbo yan sa inyo, it's okay po. I wouldn't mind if you will unfollow the page at i-block nyo yung page. Okay lang po, maiintindihan ko yon. I will never use that against you. Okay lang po yan. But for those of you who are still here watching live, maraming salamat po. Know that your support, each of your individual support, hindi man namin ma-respond lahat ng comments and lahat ng reactions and your words and your great words and kind words, but know that we are all very thankful. So, going back to our topic, I understand, naiintindihan ko po at hindi ko po kayo i-judge kung bakit sobrang ang hirap paniwalaan na okay lang kumain ng taba, na bakit okay lang kumain ng karne. Nakakatakot yan, baka yan yung ikamatay namin. Hindi yan kapanipaniwala because that is so wrong based on what we know. But I also understand where you are coming from. I even understand where your doctor is coming from because I used to be like that. Yun din yung pinaniniwalaan ko before. But times are changing now. In the American Dietary Guidelines, the American Dietary Association, they are now accepted that low carbohydrate diet and very low carbohydrate diet, less than 50 grams of carbohydrate per day, is one of the nine recommended dietary changes for medical nutrition therapy na nakapagpapababa ng blood sugar, nakakapagpababa ng FBS, ng HbA1c, ng inflammation, nakaka-improve ng lipid panel, metabolic profile ng pasyente, and overall improves their weight, overall improves their overall wellness and health. So, hindi po yan kwento-kwento lang. This is real science. It's just that ngayon lang naka-keep up yung science because it's good, of course, that science is still evolving, and as much as we are happy with what we have now, but there still needs more to be done, especially when filtering out kung ano yung ating paniniwalaan, because right now, approximately 80 to 95% of what you can see in Google, what you can find in the internet kapag nagsisearch kayo, will be going against what we are promoting, because of course this is not new knowledge ha. This is old knowledge. Kaya nga lang forgotten, kaya nga lang walang sponsorship, kaya parati na lang na natatambakan ng mga information that are sponsored, that with business on the side. So that's why it's expected na this knowledge may not really be that popular unless of course you do something about it. And I'm seeing that you are doing something about it because our reach is reaching more. Our groups is reaching more. Marami yan ngayon sa LCFF, Low Carb Feasting and Fasting Community Groups natin. Nagsisimula pa lang last 21 days, last month lang, but they are now seeing the changes. Sobrang ganda na kanilang transition, sobrang ganda na kanilang transformation, and hindi nga sila part ng masterclass natin eh. They just did it on their own. They just follow all the videos, they watch all the videos. Nasa ilang videos na kaya tayo sa YouTube? Mga nasa 200 more. Baka mag-250 na tayo soon. They just follow that. All the nuggets of wisdom are there. But of course, for those of you who want to have a guided approach, yung step by step talaga. Kasi minsan, medyo yun, naka-spread lahat ng knowledge, parang ang hirap. From time to time, magtatanong, ano nga yun ulit? But when you learn it the structured way, the guided way, yung step by step, yung parang sa school talaga, na merong basic, going to medyo moderate, advanced, at saka expert level, mas maganda yung retention, mas maganda yung understanding, and once you retain the knowledge, and once you understand the knowledge, compliance to this knowledge, compliance to this way of life is also easier as compared sa nakita mo lang, you followed it, but you don't know what it is, hindi mo alam ba why it works, or what needs to be done, or kapag nag-work na sa inyo, pwede na bang iwan. Yun yung nangyayari kasi sa iba na-inspire lang kanilang friends, they followed it as well, but they don't know why it works or how it works, and so they just went back to their old ways and now seeing worse results than before. And that is what we want to avoid. Gusto natin i-avoid yan because doing so might lead to an even greater danger, or kung hindi man greater danger, sayang yung opportunity mo to heal, sayang yung opportunity mo to really improve your health. At kapag nawala yan, you can just succumb to the usual path, which is tatanggapin na lang na, like me for example, when I entered medicine at the age of ilang taon na ba nag-medicine? 21 years old, yun ba yun? After graduating in college, I was already pre-diabetic. Never akong nagkaroon ng fasting blood sugar below 100. It's always 109, 111, 116. There was even a time that I was already taking metformin kasi nga yun yung nasa libro na families with strong family history of diabetes, kapag meron ng pre-diabetes, pwede nang uminom ng metformin to somewhat control the symptoms. But we can see now that it's just symptomatic. Yes, it's working, but if you don't change your lifestyle, eventually your body will still suffer. So again, naiintindihan ko po kung bakit ang hirap paniwalaan, because I myself have to do a lot of research, have to do a lot of experimentation on myself to see if it will really work. Kailangan kong magpa-laboratory every 3 days para makita kung totoo nga. Kailangan kong mag-blood sugar monitoring minimum of 4 times a day just so to check if it's really working. So, naiintindihan ko po kung mahirap paniwalaan. And I hope kahit hindi pa kayo maniwala right now, you can just be motivated enough to search for more answers, especially if you feel like your body is not at the top of its health. Okay, so if you feel like you are following the traditional advice of avoiding meat, avoiding fats, yes, it's good avoiding sweets, but not avoiding rice, not avoiding bread, eating too much fruits, and you can see that you are not at top of your health, then maybe it's one thing, and it's God's plan for you to see this video, for maybe to try to see. Maybe you have to consider of looking at what you are eating and reassessing. Try to look at the JGC Rojo food list, to look at the guides, most especially yung nasa caution list natin, kasi yung nasa caution list natin, yun yung parating nasasabi na okay lang or healthy, but when we overeat those can be the culprit why we are not healing. So, I hope this video somewhat, kung hindi man ito nakatulong sa inyo, at least napukaw, or at least maybe just induced some curiosity on your part to do more research, at wag lang basta-basta i-judge na kasi kumakain tayo ng maraming mga kasama natin sa groups and sa ating page, kumakain ng more meat, ay i-judge na mamamatay na kaagad. No, you might just know, maybe, just maybe, this one could actually be better as compared to eating like walang ulam, sabaw lang, gulay lang, at puro kanin. If you've been doing that, let me guess, do you have thyroid problem? Or GERD, parati bang sumasakit yung tiyan, parating sumasakit yung tuhod, yung likod, kahit hindi pa matanda, parang matanda na tingnan, o parang matanda na yung dinaramdam? Problems with hearing, nalalabo yung mata, sumasakit yung ulo. Yung glasses ko po, this is just for blue light protection, wala itong grado. I'll show you that it's for blue light protection. Yan. Kapag ko yan, makikita nyo that it's blue. It's filtering the blue. So, ilo-lower ko lang so that hindi siya magiging active. Okay? So, yes, I'm wearing glasses right now with blue light protection because it's already evening and I want to sleep. Bukas pa yung flight ko. So, thank you so much. Yun lang po muna for now. I hope I get to see you in more of our videos. And if you wish to know more, we have our low carb and fasting masterclass. Yun pa pala yung assignment ko. We'll make a page about it para yung enrollment will be streamlined, na doon na lang talaga lahat ng enrollment. And join our groups, Life Without Rice, for more recipes, free, easy recipes for Filipinos, and other nationalities are all welcome there. Kung meron kayong paboritong pagkain, search nyo lang sa search bar. Meron niyang low carb counterpart. Kahit nga sapin-sapin, meron ng low carb recipe dyan. Shout out to Marigina Bumanglag, one of our active admins, for helping especially with kakanin post. I know a lot of people who can easily let go of sweets, who can easily let go of rice, but cannot let go of kakanin. Kasi nga comfort food, childhood memories, and all that. Good thing, meron tayo niyan sa Life Without Rice. So, I hope to see you there and hope you can share this video and follow our YouTube channel for more videos para hindi na kayo mahirapan maghanap. Just follow our YouTube channel, nandun lang po lahat. So thank you all for the support, and especially for those who sent out stars. Hindi ko alam kung how to do about it, but thank you so much, and may God bless you and have a good week, have a good and productive week ahead.